Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly talks about real world experiences using cameras. So today I want to talk about the Canon EOS RT. This is a camera made in the 1990s. In fact, I remember going to the Jacob Javits Center in New York, and they were having a big photo expo, and we were working as photojournalists in New Jersey, and we took the train up to New York and went to the photo expo, and the Canon EOS line had just come out. It had replaced the FD mount, and everybody was like thinking, wow, it's really progressive. They're all very computerized looking, and they're all very advanced, and they left the FD mount people behind, but they're going so far into the future. And the RT, I think, stood for real time, but I'm not sure. There was also a 650 and a 630, 620, and some of those had the same features but without the real time. So this has a pellicle mirror. So the mirror in that is actually transparent. And when this camera shoots, the mirror doesn't flip up. It shoots through the mirror. So when you're shooting it and you see the photo, you don't see a blackout. The screen doesn't flip up, so it doesn't block your light. So you're shooting in real time. You lose 2/3 of a stop of light to the light transmission that has to go to the film. And because of the mirror in the way, it soaks up a little bit of the light. But this RT I picked up at a local flea market, I think just for $20 or $30, and I ended up finding an 85 1.8 at a pawn shop that works on all the modern cameras too. But this camera with an 85 1.8 is a wonderful portrait camera that I use sometimes when I'm going out and I'm just photographing people on the street and I want to do some street portraits. And the fact that I'm talking to people and I'm looking at them and I'm watching them for them to blink. And then once they blink, I can shoot knowing they probably won't blink right away again. And I can see in real time whether they blink during the shot because this camera doesn't have the blackout screen. So they made one of these in the 70s. It was called the Canon Pelix, P-E-L-L-I-X, I believe. And it was a camera that had the same thing. It was a Pelicula? There's a word for that. It had a mirror that was the ability to let the light through the mirror instead of flipping up out of the way. And by doing that, you end up not having the blackout frame that all cameras make. And it also doesn't have the sound. It's a quieter camera because it doesn't have the mirror flop. And so that's the kind of camera, like if you're looking for something that's a little bit unusual, something that you can probably find, and I bet they're not terribly expensive because I don't think a whole lot of people are seeking out the EOS RT or any of the EOS cameras. If you have a 5D Mark IV and you would like to shoot some film, pick up an old EOS camera. Your lenses will still work on it. EF lenses work on these. And then you can work with a camera that was pretty advanced for its time. Most of them are mirrored cameras, so the 650 and the 620 all have mirrors. But if you get the one that's the RT, you end up with one that has I think it's called a pellicle mirror. And the pellicle mirror, you shoot through. The mirror doesn't have to flop up out of the way, and you can see what you're shooting at in real time. It's kind of like a rangefinder. In fact, in the fact that it's not blocking your light at the moment of exposure. And then again, with an 85 1.8, this makes for a wonderful portrait camera. Simple setup, not that expensive. I think the lens was maybe $175 because it was clearance out at a pawn shop, and the camera was only like $20 or $30. So I'm probably in for $200, and it's probably all money I can get out of it if I ever want to sell it. But the point is, they aren't that expensive, these cameras. And if you're already a Canon shooter, you might already have lenses that will work great with them. So take a look at that, the EOS RT. I would recommend it. I enjoy shooting that. Sometimes I'm a little surprised when I don't see the mirror flop because I'm so used to seeing a blackout screen, and then it doesn't do it. And I have to remember which camera. Oh, that's right, that one doesn't do that. But when I'm using it and I remember what I'm using, that's a treat to be able to not have to lose that vision for that split second. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, hit the Patreon. I'll be back next week. We'll talk more photography. As always, here's the good light.